Alright, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to a 1v1 game in between Capoch and MarineLord. MarineLord is using his secondary account named Keckwait in this one, but I saw him using this account on his stream, so it's 100% sure it is MarineLord. He's going to be playing Abbasids on the north in blue, and down south Capoch is playing his favorite civilization, the English, as red. The map we are using right now is Ancient Spires, and as you see, this map has quite a lot of fish to work with, scattered around in multiple ponds. Looks like the pond spawns are actually favoring Capoch quite a bit. You see he's got one low pond here on the left side to work with. This is also closer to him. This pond is also probably closer to him. And you see the closest pond to MarineLord is probably this little tiny one, or maybe this one on the left side. Now the Abbasids have a discount on their docks, so they can start going for fish very early. And you see that MarineLord is already pulling a villager here to drop a dock. This is going to be a nice spot over here for a dock, although I feel like this spot over here would be even better because it would mean that this fish and this fish would be very close to it. I think this dock is going to replace that shorefish, which is not ideal here for MarineLord. Meanwhile, on the other side, it looks like we'll have a Capoch moving out as well towards this pond, which is pretty stacked with shorefish, despite the fact that it's a rather small pond. It has 5 droplets itself, which is actually more than what this pond has on the right side over here, and this is a bigger pond, I believe. So we already have the dock coming up here for MarineLord. He's probably going to use this villager to continue fishing, so nothing to see here. And we will have the House of Wisdom coming in already. He's very heavy on wood, which is a regular thing to do when you're going for fishing eco, because you want to make sure that you can consistently produce fishing ships on your docks. Dock is already up for him, and Capoch is about to finish his own dock. Now, on this map, I can justify seeing a second scout coming in from either of the players, because what the second scout would give you is a chance to harass the villager that's close to the dock, and potentially even start taking down the dock of the opponent. Because, of course, your opponent has his own scout, so if you had a second scout, you will have the numbers advantage in there. Of course, the reaction for your opponent would be to add a second scout himself, but you could potentially get a villager pick or so if you have a second scout added in here. Looks like neither of the players will go for that, just full standard Dark Age plays. Looks like when it comes to sheep, MarineLord doesn't seem to have a lot, whereas for Capoch, he's also pretty low on sheep, so neither of the players have an insane amount of herdables to work with. And it looks like Capoch is going for a second dock on the best pond of the game. Look at this. This is a thing of beauty. It has 5... that's about 14 droplets of fish, if I'm not mistaken. And it also includes a deep fish, which is even better, because fishing ships do get her faster from deep fish. So the best thing that Capoch can do here is send fishing ships to that deep sea fish out there. Meanwhile, it looks like MarineLord is only going to play on one dock. He could definitely afford a second dock himself on this pond if he wanted to, because he's got a cheaper dock with the Abbasids. For now, it looks like we have a 2 on gold already for MarineLord. Capoch will scout that. And for Capoch, he doesn't have any villagers on gold yet, so his Feudal Age will be delayed here quite heavily. Once he gets to Feudal Age, his economy is going to be extremely powerful. But it's going to be a slower Feudal, and that gives a window for the Abbasids to work with. Now, let's talk unit compositions here, because that's an interesting question in this matchup. Neither of these civilizations have early knights, so it's probably going to be focused on spearmen and archers, and that's a problem, I believe, for the Abbasids, because if you think about it, when it comes to archer play, the Briton archer play or the English archer play will be way, way better than the Abbasid archer play. So the Abbasids really don't want to fight a lot in Feudal Age here. As you see, MarineLord is aging up with the economy wing. He could have opted for the camel support, so the military wing over here, so he could have an edge in those archer battles. That could have been an option for him, but it looks like he's just going for the traditional eco-focused approach. I think one of the things that he could do is play with multiple defensive towers and potentially a second town center, sort of just limit the movement of those longbows and try to play for Castle Age, because once we get to Castle Age, the men-at-arms springolds from the Abbasid dynasty can be very powerful. Meanwhile, down south, we have Capoch with a couple of fishing ships on this pond. He has a grand total of 4 here and 3 in the middle. And it looks like MarineLord is coming in with dock. Look at that romantic dock hugging the one of Capoch. And considering that Capoch is late to Feudal Age compared to MarineLord, that could be very, very troublesome for Capoch. He's going for a defensive tower around here, but there is the scout, and it very much seems like Capoch will still be able to get that tower up because Capoch's scout is also in here. The scout will scare off the one from MarineLord. MarineLord with no production buildings back at home. It's not like there is going to be any spearmen joining the fun or so. And, ooh, look at this. Palisade was coming in to block the escape towards this little pond, because you see, this is a shallow water, so the ships can cross over there, but so can the villagers. So you can just wall this off to prevent the fishing ships from retreating to this little pond. Nice little touch there by MarineLord. MarineLord also replaced at least one, but potentially two droplets of shorefish with this dock over here, so that lowers the value of this pond in the middle. Currently, MarineLord is on 6 fishing ships. Capoch has been on quite a lot more. It's about 13 for Capoch. So once Capoch gets to Feudal Age himself, he's gonna have the better eco. And remember that he's playing English, so this tower is going to give him the network of castles bonus, which will increase his rate of fire for his archers, and in general the rate of attack for his units. That council hall is almost done, and I think that the difference in the Feudal Age times is not that considerable. Here comes the first Dao, potentially from MarineLord. But by the time that first Dao pops out, I believe that Capoch will be up to Feudal Age as well, and he's gonna have his first galley out as well. Looking at the economies real quick, as we take a look at the middle pond, there's the first Dao coming in, and Capoch will pop out a galley immediately, unless he is off from gold. That's a bit of a problem here for Capoch. He doesn't have the gold for a galley, which means that he's going to lose some of his fishing eco here. He can garrison 3 fishing ships into the dock, but the 4th one can't go anywhere, and this tower can't shoot by itself. It doesn't have arrow slits, and it has nothing garrisoned. Now, a couple of longbows garrisoned into that tower could help, but I still believe that Capoch will lose at least 1 fishing ship here, and there goes MarineLord with the other dock here, so he just wants to contest Capoch's fishing eco, and it very much seems like now Capoch has to go back on gold. He now has a decent income of gold, but now he's a little low on wood, so once again, that galley is gonna be delayed quite heavily. Here comes the Dao. What Capoch is doing right now is pulling back the damaged fishing boats into the dock, just trying to buy himself a bit of a time, as the first longbows are coming in. For now, looks like Capoch didn't lose a single fishing ship, and that's the most important thing. Looks like Capoch is coming in to tower the fishing eco of his opponent, as we do have a first horseman popping out for MarineLord. This tower goes up, so it's going to be good to harass the fishing eco here, but with the repair aura of the dock, I don't think that this tower can do a whole lot of damage over here. Dao still looking for a target in here, as we still don't have a single galley here for Capoch. Looks like he's not fighting on the left-hand side pond either. So there's a chance that he's just going to lose his entire fishing eco here. He's moving out with the longbows right now, as he has already gotten the campfire upgrade, so he can even heal these. And now he's moving in to try and snipe that Dao. Fishing ships back in the dock. And now, with the longbows having the extra attack rate plus the tower garrisoned, this is gonna be a difficult fight here for MarineLord. In fact, he might lose his Dao here in this battle. On the left side, this tower is just shooting at the dock, so it really does nothing right now for Capoch. And on the left-hand side pond, it very much seems like this Dao is also satisfied shooting at the dock for the time being. So Capoch, despite the fact that he doesn't have a big navy, he gets away with a pretty decent fishing eco. It is 42 eco for Capoch right now, and 38 for MarineLord. MarineLord might get a pick on some archers here, but I already see spearmen coming out for Capoch, and this is where things could get problematic for MarineLord, because he could easily get his horsemen picked apart by archers, supported by spearmen, and you see, those heat-seeking arrows on those long-range longbowmen are just very devastating against the horsemen out there. On the left-hand side pawn, now we have 2 Daos to work with, and I think that Capoch will lose his fishing eco, but he already has gotten a massive value out of that. So he has had way more fishing ships than his opponent for a long, long time, and now, with that galley out there, he is going to destroy the Dao. The Dao is being repaired by the fishing ship, but here come the longbows, and at the end of the day, Capoch saves his fishing eco in the middle, although the more important part of his fishing eco is actually on the left. Here comes a galley. The galley is slightly more powerful than the Daos are, but there's 2 of these combat ships here for MarineLord, so this galley, even though with the repairability of the dock plus potential the fishing ship repairing, he might be able to take this fleet down eventually, but I still believe that at some point, MarineLord is going to win this fight. Looks like another horseman comes in here to try and snipe the villager that's garrisoned inside that tower. MarineLord's fishing eco has not been pushed at all so far, so once he destroys this fishing eco here, suddenly things will get better, but there goes the first out from MarineLord, and this galley is still pretty powerful here for Capoch. Two of those combat ships from MarineLord were shooting the dock, so that helped so much for Capoch here, keeping his own galley alive. And now that's a scary force of archers and spearmen marching forward. Looking at the base of MarineLord, he does have archer range and stable for horseman production, so we're gonna have archers and horsemen. He already has a defense upgrade, and this is where that camel support upgrade could have been very, very useful for MarineLord, because he would get extra armor on his archers if he has camels nearby, if he goes for that upgrade. Of course, instead of that, he went for the economy wing, so he has a villager discount that also helps quite a bit. Looks like the fishing ships are now out for Capoch to try and repair that galley, but ultimately, even if Capoch wins the water fight here, he's probably gonna lose all his fishing eco. You see, he's gonna have nothing left over here. But also, here come the longbows, and even though this tower is now gone for Capoch, he can potentially snipe the fishing eco of his opponent, and with the spearmen close by, they can also burn down that dock. So, as things stand, both players could potentially lose their fishing eco here. We do have this galley secure in the middle pond, so we still have a decent amount of fishing income here for MarineLord. But here comes the force of Capoch, and that feels like it's insufficient against what MarineLord has. All the spearmen get picked apart by the archers, and now that's a lot of horsemen to fight against. You see, Capoch is trying to pull back over here, get the support of the galley, get the support of that tower with the network of castles bonus, but that was a big win there for MarineLord. Looking at the resources, MarineLord is also looking much, much better when it comes to castle age timing. He has had that untouched fishing eco for a long, long time, and that's paying for its price now. And of course, he has a massive villager discount, so he didn't really spend a lot of food when it comes to making villagers. He could spend most of that either on archers, horsemen, or just bank them up and go to castle age. Capoch, on the other hand, is not going into castle age at all. Here comes MarineLord with a raid. Capoch will be forced off from his gold mine, and now Capoch is in trouble because his army is weaker, I think, at this point. There is also more mobility for MarineLord, and you see that he's already doing a pretty decent job raiding the wood line of Capoch. Even if he's not killing villagers, he's actually forcing a lot of idle time, so there is definitely damage done here by MarineLord. We do have the longbows moving up though, and since the horsemen are all at the back of Capoch's base, this will allow Capoch to take a pretty decent fight over here. Looking at the upgrades, Capoch does have the extra attack, and he also has the extra defense upgrades. Whereas on the other side, we don't have the attack upgrade for MarineLord yet, but he does have the defense. The second archer range will get denied over here, which is a pretty considerable problem for MarineLord right now. So he is gonna get outnumbered by longbows over here. Meanwhile, the scouts, or light cav, excuse me, are killing quite a lot of villagers here, but English villagers are pretty tanky, so they can fight back over here, and you see, they are killing the majority of those horsemen. Once this slaughter is done, we'll take a look at the villager counts, as we have 45 for Capoch, including fishing, 50 for MarineLord, so MarineLord takes over. Capoch, on the other hand, is able to secure the left-hand side pond, so he will have a chance to add some more fish over here. And more importantly, Capoch can now push the wood line of MarineLord, so he can even that villager count out in a matter of moments. MarineLord is aging up with the culture wing to age 3, going for a second stable. We're probably going to see double stable knights coming in here, or lancers, for the Abbasids. And on the other side, for Capoch, I think he just needs to keep adding the longbows, get the elite upgrade, get some more spearmen out, and get the veteran upgrade on them. So that's probably what you want to do. Maybe go for an archer range and start adding some crossbowmen. That could be a legitimate approach over here for Capoch. MarineLord is up to castle age, whereas for Capoch, he is still in feudal age. That's going to be a little concerning for him now. You see, he has some resources in the bank, but he has been so heavy on army production in the recent couple of minutes that he's going to be delayed pretty heavily going into castle age. Nice move over here from Capoch, by the way. He's denying the only source of fishing income for his opponent. There's a dhow coming in. The spearmen are slowly torching down the dock, and longbows are focusing down the ships. But really the main accomplishment here is forcing the idle time for the time being. That's a very, very good fishing eco for Capoch, so now that he has all of his opponent's fishing ships idle, he's slowly going to start taking over in terms of economy. He already has some farms working for him as well. That's going to be boosted by the farming bonus of the English. And now we have some Lancers on the way for Mr. MarineLord. Looking at the defense upgrade, it's almost in. It takes 20 more seconds to come in with it. So what Capoch needs to do, I think, is retreat to this central area and use this tower with the network of castles bonus to try and edge those fights out, because the longbows and the spearmen with the network of castles should still be able to beat these early lancers out here that we are seeing. There isn't really a huge amount of them out there. That's the only positive thing for Capoch. If there were like 10 more lancers here, he would die so badly. So you see he's rushing up his landmark with 19 villagers. He knows exactly he needs that castle age ASAP. He's up to castle age and he's going up with the King's Palace, which is a second town center for him. That's the reason why he can afford to play one town center in Feudal Age. He can just go up to Castle Age and go double TCs using the King's Palace. This is a nice town center protecting what's left of this wood line. And it's also on the hunt and on the gold. Here come the archers, supported by some lancers. Capoch is grabbing veteran longbowmen right now. And we also have veteran spearmen coming in. Looking at the blacksmith, the attack upgrade is just now coming in as MarineLord swoops in and picks off one villager. But now those lancers are going to be very exposed to longbowman fire, so MarineLord has to be careful not to lose those. Veteran longbowman is in, as we do have more lancers trickling through the map. Longbows also trading off against the archers over here. And now the main question is, are we going to see an archer range for a couple of crossbowmen for Capoch? Because the thing is that his opponent is going full lancers at this point, so a couple of crossbowmen would help immensely at dealing with those lancers. Just get that armor-piercing damage in. There's a handful of archers as well for MarineLord, and these could be useful to make siege weapons on the battlefield, but reality is that the main force right now is lancers. He's gonna have the mobility advantage, as we do have a huge amount of spearmen out here for Capoch to hold his farming eco. You see, MarineLord wants to come in and hit that farming eco, but those spearmen do have the network of castles bonus as well. I think they also braced their spears, so the charge wouldn't have worked out for those lancers. And while MarineLord is taking this fight outside the range of the network of castles bonus, it's still not something that he really wants to take. Now we have a scary amount of longbows marching up though, and you see, the problem for MarineLord is numbers. He does only have 19 army at this point. Some of that is combat ships. I still think that he has a couple of archers left over, so he's got around 10 lancers maximum. Whereas on the other side, Capoch has a whopping 52 army and a pretty big bowl of veteran longbowmen with +2 attack now. You see, they don't do a whole lot of damage per arrow, but you have so many of them that they can still pretty much two-shot a lancer. Looks like we're gonna have mangonels being assembled here by Capoch using that free infantry siege upgrade of the Abbasid dynasty here. And we're still seeing more and more lancers coming in. As long as it's only longbows, lancers are probably the way to go. But once we see a couple of crossbows coming out for Capoch, suddenly horsemen could actually be a legitimate addition. For the time being, it is 57 villagers for Capoch, 60 for MarineLord. MarineLord is staying on 1 TC, I believe. Indeed, he's still playing 1 town center. Capoch is on 2 town centers now, plus he's got the fishing eco working for him in the middle. So, at the end of the day, I think Capoch will have a better economy than MarineLord if this game goes a lot longer. For now, MarineLord has decent map control though. He's got berries to work with, which is always nice with the Abbasids. While Capoch is just assembling a big force in the middle, ready to push these knights. Here come the Springolds, and the Springald can actually snap down ships very, very easily. That's a pretty common sight to see in water map settings. Springolds trying to come in, snap the ships, and then allow the player to redock. I wonder if we're going to see a Hulk here. The Hulk would still be outranged by the Springold, but it would have a lot more firepower. You see that the Mangonel and the Springold will allow MarineLord to just pick off some of the fishing eco here. Dock, of course, helping quite a bit with the passive repair ability, so looks like the fishing ships will stay alive. Here comes the cavalry charge, though. Looks like the spearmen are just not on the battlefield right now, but I think it's actually decent to just absorb all the charge damage with your longbows, because you have a lot more longbows. You probably want to keep those spearmen alive so they can keep dealing damage. Springold on the way for Capoch to try and snap the siege weapons of the opponent, and that Springold, which by the way is unfinished, could easily get sniped down here by Capoch. Longbows now moving in as well. Let's see if they swoop in and snipe down the Springald. You see, Springald has a lot of pierce armor, but it's so many arrows that eventually they do get picked apart, and there goes the Springald. Springald now coming in as well for Capoch, trying to snap that otherwise crucial Mangonel, because that Mangonel is much needed to kill the longbows. Nice Mangonel hit on top of the Spearman, as the Spearman will now retreat. The Springald is finished for MarineLord over here, so he is going to force our red player back. Meanwhile, we do have one red longbowman from Capoch on the northern side of MarineLord's base, and MarineLord is losing villagers to that. That's gonna be very annoying. The reason why he's probably not noticing is because he's focusing on the middle for the time being, and by the time he notices, he could lose like 10 vills or so. Looks like he just noticed that he's rushing it down with villagers. Unless Capoch is microing that, that's not going to work out. That's a big Mangonel shot in the middle by MarineLord. He did lose one of the Mangonels to the Springolds, but now he is diving in on the Springolds. Beautiful fight here from MarineLord. All the knights here go down to the Spearman though. The next batch of knights is about to snipe the Springolds. Still pretty good fight, I believe, for MarineLord. And this Mangonel might also survive. It's gonna survive. That's an absolute beauty over there for MarineLord. He did decide to dive in with the Lancers, took down all the Springolds, saves his Mangonel. He landed an enormous hit on top of those longbows. And now we're looking at 42 army for Capoch, and still just 19 for MarineLord. But his army is getting scarier and scarier. Multiple Mangonels supported by Lancers. Right now, looking at the ecos though, it's 68 eco only for MarineLord. Capoch is already at 77, so Capoch is pulling ahead. But Capoch is also running a little low on wood here if you look at his map. This is still a forest he can work with, and then he's gonna have to expand. So Capoch doesn't have an amazing map control right now. Looking at MarineLord, he is playing with the second town center now, so he's gonna be able to catch up in terms of villagers quite nicely. Lancer is now coming in to try and deal with the Spearmen here. These guys won't be able to accomplish much. The best thing they can hope for is potentially get 1 or 2 knight kills. I do believe that they once again brace their Spearmen, or brace the spears, because those Lancers weren't really able to charge in, but ultimately they do get cleaned up. Soon the fish is going to run out on the central pond, and same thing on the left side, so these fishing ships will soon become obsolete. And that's the domain where the English will start to become more and more dominant, because once we transition to a stage where we have a lot of farming eco, the English farming bonus is going to have its effect. So I feel like the longer the game goes, the better this is for the English, because their late game economy is absolutely amazing. It's a very, very population efficient economy. Meanwhile, we do have MarineLord's Lancers coming in from the right side. There will be a town center being built here by Capoch, so he's gonna have the network of castles extended all the way out here, and he's gonna have a couple of defensive spearmen as well. These Lancers should not be able to do a whole lot of damage. Meanwhile, here comes Capoch with the Springolds and longbows trying to push up hills. There goes the Springold before getting finished. And the other Springold could also be taken down here by Capoch. He lands a couple of shots. Springold emplacement on that tower, something that Viper loves to do. Go for Springold emplacement on the towers, try to snap the opponent's Springolds. Here come the Lancers to raid, and Capoch was a little slow to react. He's gonna have to garrison all the villas inside the town centers, and those Lancers will actually do a lot more than I initially anticipated. No spearmen to defend, and that's gonna be a lot of dead villas for Capoch. On the other side, a couple of villagers will go down as well for MarineLord, as Capoch is assembling a ram push. But behind this one, as I said, quite a lot of villagers went down for Capoch. It's 71 right now for him, and MarineLord is at 77. So MarineLord took over in terms of economy. Springolds exchanging shots over here as the Lancers are trying to dive in and snipe the Springolds. Mangonel gets some nice hits in there. But ultimately, all the siege weapons for MarineLord do get cleaned up. Springolds can now retarget themselves and focus on the knights. There is enough spearmen to force the Lancers back. And while these raids are excellent for MarineLord, he's gonna have to clean that up in front of his base, otherwise he's in trouble. If he cleans this up, these raids will be excellent for him because he's pulling ahead in terms of economy by a quite massive margin. But this is a scary push, and you see there's already rams coming in. Remember, when you're fighting against the Abbasids, all you have to do is destroy the House of Wisdom and the starting TC. Those are the two landmarks that you have to go for. So it's rather easy for Capoch to just run down those two buildings. The House of Wisdom is pretty tanky, it's 12,000 HP. But still, with multiple rams, this could be a possibility. Looking at the ecos, it's 82 for MarineLord. Capoch is down to 70, and he keeps losing villagers to these Lancers. Just really struggling to clean those up. Here comes another battering ram. And the thing is that right now I don't see a lot of units that can stop this for MarineLord. If Capoch realizes what's going on here, he could just jump the TC and the House of Wisdom, and it's gonna be extremely difficult for Capoch to fight this one. Now, Capoch can make springolds without the siege workshop, so you see he's using his archers to build those springolds, and that's gonna help quite a bit hold this. And the Lancers are still around, idling a lot of villagers from Capoch. In fact, you see, Capoch's otherwise fancy food eco here is just completely idle, simply because there are so many knights around. These guys are badly damaged though, so if the villagers jump into the town center over here, these Lancers will get cleaned up quite easily. Couple of spearmen once again moving to the north, but these guys should not be able to do a whole lot. Might get a couple of villager kills, but that's basically it. Gotta love how MarineLord is able to save some of those low HP Lancers. You see, many of them are heavily battered, but they are still alive, so there's a chance for them to heal it up. Beautiful keep location over here for Capoch though. This is going to give him a massive amount of vision. It's going to give him the network of castles bonus on this entire hill. This is just the perfect forward position for him. And if he can intercept those Lancers, he could kill quite a few of them. You see, many of them are so weak that just a couple of arrows will take them down, and those will be very costly. You see Springald setting up, and MarineLord thinks twice before engaging that. The keep is being built with quite a lot of villagers, but here comes the Springald push by MarineLord. I'm not 100% convinced right now that that keep is going up, because there's a lot of firepower here for our blue player. Lancers about to charge in, trying to snipe the siege weapons, as it looks like we're just gonna have Springald wars coming in, as it's so common in AoE4 nowadays. Longbows coming in to soak up some of the Springald fire, and at this point Capoch just wants to get that keep up, because if this keep is denied, he's gonna be in serious trouble. He misclicked his villagers, or he wanted to repair that ram, I'm not exactly sure, but anyways, there are a couple of villagers idle here, which will delay that castle being built. Here come the rams now. The rams at this point are just here to soak up arrow fire. That's all about that. Soak up the Springald fire, and you can just repair them after. Looks like all the Springolds for MarineLord are going down. Spearman also taking some nice hits on those Lancers. And when this keep is finished, the network of castles will apply to those Longbowmen as well. But the Spearmen did disappear from the battlefield, so you have to pull the Longbowman back for the time being. Some more Lancers arrive on the battlefield. The keep is up, which means now we have network of castles being active here. That's going to help quite a bit with the rate of fire. Looks like the Rams are able to take down a couple of buildings, but really not a whole lot. And considering that these buildings are in the influence radius of the House of Wisdom, they do have increased fire armor. So you see that these guys aren't really burning down at a rapid pace, and those Rams being lost is going to be a costly loss for Capoch, who's actually making a mining camp here, so he wants to mine some extra stone. Looks like he saves 2 of his rams, which is really helpful at this point, being able to repair those. A couple of Lancers out for MarineLord, maybe hoping to intercept some reinforcements. This wall is still up, by the way, which means that Capoch can't access these droplets of fish, something that he's gonna have to address at some point. Looks like we're gonna have a Springald emplacement over here on this keep. And now we have to talk about the English bonus, which allows them to make units on their keep. Any kind of unit. You see barracks units, men-at-arms, and spearmen, longbowmen, crossbowmen, so archer range units, stable units, and siege weapons as well. So they can make basically all their units on their keeps. And the reason why this is so valuable is because you can make Springolds on the battlefield. If you compare the two civilizations, so far MarineLord was able to make Springolds on the battlefield using his archers, and Capoch had to reinforce from all the way back home. That's no longer the case, because now you can go for Springolds here, and you can also go for trebuchets. And that would be a reasonable thing to do. Imagine that you start setting up trebs and trebbing down these buildings. You could force MarineLord to act pretty soon. Here comes another ram push, as MarineLord is tempted to launch a counterattack. Rams will take down this tower in all certainty, as we do have more stables coming in. Capoch will need something other than spearmen to fight all those Lancers though. Because spearmen are nice, but they won't be population efficient, and that's gonna be a scary amount of Lancers. Capoch will need crossbowmen here. Or hand cannoneers, if he gets to Imperial. Looks like we're going to see a couple of knights coming in from Capoch as well. Villagers being pulled to take down the Rams. Springolds pushing up to try and snipe the villagers. We do have a counterattack coming in by Capoch, or excuse me, MarineLord, but that's not gonna do a whole lot. Instead, this TC is potentially gonna go down here. We have villagers being pulled to repair. A second keep is being dropped here by Capoch. That's going to just fortify this position even more. And as I said, what I would love to see from Capoch is Trebs. He can start taking all these buildings down with Trebs. Now, the building is on fire. Multiple Springolds are shooting at the Lancers from behind. And the villagers are also being taken down. I don't think that MarineLord can save this town center over here. We do have some villagers on the left side that are wide open for raiding. And speaking of raiding, MarineLord is trying his best to do that. Town center goes down over here. Is MarineLord imping? That's the question. And the answer is no. He's floating a lot of food, so I can imagine him attempting to go Imperial here, but that's just a little difficult because he's getting pushed pretty heavily, so he has to invest a lot into his units. Losing stables, there's a Springald emplacement now on that keep, so that's going to help holding this. And now, as I said, all that Capoch needs is 2 or 3 Trebs. He can start shelling these buildings, and then there is no chance for MarineLord to come back, because, as I said, Capoch just needs to destroy the TC here and the House of Wisdom, and it's GG. By the way, we had a knight here for quite a long time, and it has been slaying villagers left and right. So, if you look at the villager count, Capoch is at 95, and MarineLord is at 96. So, even though this knight has been killing villagers for a long time, it doesn't really show in the villager count, and it looks like Capoch went on to kill these villagers on the right side, but that also means that he leaves the Springolds unguarded, and that's gonna be a lot of costly losses here for Capoch. Oh boy, that's a lot of costly losses. There goes the second Springold, and there's 2 keeps firing at those Lancers, but at this point, the cost efficiency is on the side of MarineLord. You see, Capoch is pulling villagers to repair those Springolds as much as he can, and if he focuses down the weak Springolds with those repair villagers, this might work out. It's actually very lucky for Capoch to get away with 3 Springolds in here. He could have lost everything. Speaking of losing everything, though, it looks like he gets ambushed by a bunch of archers on this right side. And I feel like MarineLord is taking some very, very good fights over here. You see, Springolds are firing from the other side of the shoreline. And it's way too many archers for Capoch to deal with. We're looking into 40-ish army for MarineLord. Capoch is down to 24. So, Capoch needs to regroup here for a moment because he just lost considerable numbers. Looking at his archers, I still think the problem here for Capoch is that he's only producing on 1 council hall. It's very, very good for a long time, but now that we are close to Imperial Age, you need a little bit more production. So, a couple archer ranges could actually work out nicely. Here come the archers from MarineLord. There is going to be a defensive keep coming in for Mr. Capoch. And the thing is here, for MarineLord, he has the option to go for a couple of rams here with his archers. Whereas for Capoch, what he needs to do is go for the boiling oil upgrade, I believe, and then just jump the rams with his villagers. Here come the archers. Capoch sees this, but he's a little slow to react, and there's so many villagers over here. Not everyone will fit into the town centers, so there's gonna be quite a lot of losses here for Capoch. Still no reaction. Now he's pulling the villagers back, running towards the castle, running towards the town center. But that's gonna be a lot of idle time caused by all those archers. Meanwhile, on the other side, it looks like we'll have some more ranges coming in here for Mr. Capoch. He is getting the veteran longbowman upgrade in. Well, he already had the veteran longbowman upgrade, what I'm talking about. He's actually getting a lot more veteran longbows in on the battlefield. Looking at his resources, he's pretty far away from Imperial Age. Whereas MarineLord looks like he's piling up food for Imp, but he also has a battering ram coming in, so it's possible we're going to see this castle being pushed. No boiling oil upgrade just yet for Capoch. An upgrade that would be very, very helpful for all his keeps, because that just boosts their damage output close range like crazy, and it's not even a weapon emplacement like a Springold or a cannon. It affects all your castles, so you research it only once, and you will get the bonus for all of your castles. The other thing would be the Network of Citadels upgrade, because this guy increases your Network of Castles bonus from 25% to 50%, so the attack rate of your units near castles and town centers will just be even better. Considering that you have this forward position over here, so you're relying on the Network of Castles bonus like crazy, this would be an excellent upgrade, and that plus 50% attack rate is nothing to be ashamed of, especially if you combine it with the volley ability of the longbows once we get to Imperial. Speaking of getting into Imperial, There goes Imperial Age soon for MarineLord. He needs to sell some food to go up, and I believe that he's about to do that. He's a little long gold. Capoch is going to click into Imperial soon, as MarineLord is already shelling that castle with a couple of trebuchets. I don't think that Capoch can snipe those trebs. He just can't dive in here with the springles to snipe those trebs. Those are so well positioned. In fact, Capoch is not even reacting with his own springles. There goes 4 springles for absolutely no return value. I really feel like at this point, Capoch is going to lose one of his keeps. Although, he has enough repair villagers to delay this quite heavily, as he is going into Imperial. He's building his Imperial Age landmark with 22 villagers, so he wants to get to Imperial really fast. Where is that landmark being built? I can't even see it. Oh, it's being built here, and it's the Wingard Palace. So, the Wingard Palace is actually a building that allows you to produce the Wingard army, which is basically a very, very weird unit composition style army. It's a pretty decent discount. You see, it's 100 food, 100 wood, and 200 gold. But the real thing with the Wingard army is that you get a trebuchet with it. And a trebuchet is about 500 wood and 250 gold by default. So making the Wingard army gives you a trebuchet. Of course, it gives you a man-at-arms, a longbowman, and a spearman, but that's really just the added benefit. The real power of the Wingard army is that you get a very, very cheap trebuchet. Now, these archer numbers look a lot better over here right now for MarineLord, and even though Capoch is in Imperial Age, he doesn't have the Imperial Age upgrades yet, he's getting outnumbered really heavily, and he's gonna get pushed all the way back to this keep. The first keep has already fallen, and now I feel like MarineLord feels the blood in the water, because he's just tearing apart all those archers, and Capoch is just given no time to regroup. You see, now we're seeing horsemen coming in, and I believe that MarineLord will imp himself soon. He's floating 5k food. He really needs to sell some food and just go up into Imperial, especially given the fact that it's gonna take some time until the House of Wisdom allows him to get to Imperial. Meanwhile, he also has gotten a sacred site on the right side, so he's gonna have a nice trickle of gold from that one. And it very much seems like those trebs will slowly grind down the castle in the middle. The castle does have boiling oil, so those horsemen will die pretty easily close to the castle. You see, they're just getting absolutely mowed down when they are close to the castle. Here comes a battering ram, but the springles should be able to make a quick work of it. So, Capoch is holding this keep for the time being, trying to add a couple of horsemen himself, so he's got some mobility. Imperial Age on the way with the military wing for MarineLord though, and if you look at his population, he's at 190. Capoch is struggling with population mightily. He's only at 150, and I think that this keep is going down. And the next thing here is going to be losing the Wingard Palace. And the thing is that the Wingard Palace is nice and everything, and it's just a very, very cost-efficient way to get some trebs out. But that's really the only thing that you're getting out of this building. Looks like we're gonna have another keep up on the right side here for Capoch, but he really needs to regroup. Looks like the archers are moving in. The galley is gonna take some nice shots over here, so quite a few of those archers will just die on the battlefield. What is Capoch up to? He's getting barracks out, men-at-arms switch. I like that. The men-at-arms will perform really well over here for the English. He's mostly up against archers and horsemen. Both of those will die to the men-at-arms quite easily. The problem that he could be facing is that MarineLord can go for hand cannoneers now that he's in Imperial. Looks like we also have some traders coming in for Capoch, going for that neutral market all the way out on the left side. This is a signal that Capoch is running out of gold, as we do have another keep coming in here. Look at this. It's right next to the Wingard Palace. As you see, the trebs are being pulled back from the palace itself. Capoch retreating back into the town center over here. These archers won't be able to accomplish much, but they idle the economy of Capoch for a considerable amount of time. And at this point, despite the fact that I still believe he has the better economy, it's 114 villagers against 117, but Capoch has the faster working farmers. The problem for Capoch is that he's up against 73 army with an underwhelming 24 right now for him. He's getting men-at-arms out, but these are lacking the elite upgrade right now. And that's just a lot of horsemen to fight against. Look at that. Look at the horde of horsemen. And these guys are very, very cost efficient in Imperial, because you have an insane food income. They don't really cost a lot of food, and they're just so cheap and you can spam them all day, all night. Meanwhile, Looks like the Wingard Palace is still alive, so Capoch is trying to get some of those traps out here. You see that little weird army popping out. It's like one spearman, one longbowman, one man-at-arms. Looks awkward, I'm not gonna lie. This feels like it's good for a campaign, but looks so awkward in competitive playstyle. Landmark. Looks like it's going to be a trap war on this side, but I believe that Capoch could just lose those traps to the horsemen of MarineLord here. Speaking of those horsemen though, the men-at-arms actually are doing a pretty decent job. And one thing that we can see over here, because it's already researched for Capoch, is the unique upgrade for the men-at-arms of the English, which is the, I think, clad armor it's called. And that's gonna give a lot of extra armor to those men-at-arms. They have a whopping 9 melee, 9 ranged armor, so those horsemen are barely able to scratch them. And same thing applies to those archers. So don't underestimate the English men-at-arms over here. As I said, the best thing that MarineLord can do against them is hand cannoneers, because hand cannoneers pretty much ignore all armor and they just have a brute force damage output. There's elite horseman for our blue player MarineLord. Still no elite upgrade for Capoch's men-at-arms. Here come the horsemen to try and dive in, snap the traps. There is boiling oil on that keep, so it's going to do quite a lot of damage to the horsemen nearby. And it looks like we're losing one trap over here, a second trap goes down as well. The third trap is also gonna get sniped here, so I guess mission accomplished over here for MarineLord. The keep still stays up though, and there is no bombard coming out from our blue player. Looks like the trap here once again will get sniped, but this is just such a cheap way for Capoch to get traps out using the Wingard Palace. And now that's quite a lot of men-at-arms. If they had elite, I would be very, very positive about the chances of Capoch here, simply because he's taking straight-up fights, and these guys are really difficult to destroy. Looks like they're going for the men-at-arms, or no, they just want to go for a surround. Now they have elite, so these bad boys have 10 melee, 10 ranged armor. Those archers are doing 1 damage per hit on them. They have 180 HP, and they also have, I mean, 10 melee armor, so the horsemen do 4 damage per hit. You need a lot of firepower here for MarineLord to stop those men-at-arms. Otherwise, you're gonna get overrun by the men-at-arms of the English here, supported by some longbows. Are we going to see a swing here? Because MarineLord was leading in this game for so long, I believe, and now he's just getting shredded by all those elite men-at-arms with all the upgrades. In fact, I'm not even sure if all the blacksmith upgrades are in for Capoch yet. Looking at that real quick, he actually has all the melee armors, and of course the pierce armor as well, so that's fine for him. These are fully upgraded men-at-arms now, and now the problem that he's facing is that there is hand cannoneers. And the hand cannoneers won't really care about that 10 ranged armor because they have 42 damage output, so they still do 32 per hit. Mangonels could help here, or bombards as well, for Capoch to try and take down those hand cannoneers, but he's gonna need something against the hand cannons. Longbows could also work, by the way, so longbow men-at-arms could be a reasonable unit composition here, but you need something that destroys the hand cannoneers. The bombard takes a shot on the trebuchets, trying to save this keep here. Remember, as long as the keep is here, there is an attack rate buff for those longbows and those men-at-arms nearby. And the Network of Citadels bonus is still missing, however. Horsemen once again diving in to try and snap the bombard. Bombard won't be able to finish off that other trebuchet. But now that's a scary amount of hand cannoneers. That's a lot of firepower, and once again, Capoch is the one that gets forced back. And while this keep is still standing, I'm starting to feel like the unit composition of Capoch will be way inferior compared to what his opponent has soon. So Capoch is at 150 population, MarineLord at 180. MarineLord is running low on gold though, and hand cannoneers are very expensive when it comes to gold cost, so that is something that can be considered. And remember that you got very, very cheap siege here for Capoch using the Wingard Palace. Mangonel was able to get a good hit on the archers, but not on the hand cannoneers. Looks like the men-at-arms will be able to take down the horsemen here, so the Mangonel stays alive. Another trap is targeting this castle in the middle. We do have a cannon emplacement coming in, that's gonna help quite a bit when it comes to cleaning up this palace. And now I feel like Capoch needs to deny this gold mine, because that's MarineLord's only source of gold, aside from controlling the sacred sites. But if MarineLord runs out of gold, suddenly he doesn't have a good answer to men-at-arms. And this is where the English late-game eco comes into play. The English farms generate a bit of a gold for Capoch, so he's not gonna run out of gold anytime in the future. He can spam men-at-arms all day. In fact, let's see if he's got that upgrade. He hasn't gotten that upgrade. This is an S-tier upgrade for the English. Each farm enclosure is going to generate +1 gold per 3.5 seconds. This is a must-have. This is an Imperial Age upgrade, and it's a must-have with the English, something that Capoch needs desperately. We do have a tower up here by Capoch. There is still some fish over here, so Capoch is still benefiting from controlling that pawn, but MarineLord could deny that one very easily with that tower. Looks like there was a bit of an overextension here by Capoch. He jumped on the hand cannoneers of the man-at-arms, but of course that fight never really goes well because the hand cannoneers have so much firepower. And now that we have bombards on the field, the battle is completely different because there is way more firepower here for MarineLord. And now Capoch is getting forced back. MarineLord once again pop-capped, and Capoch is down to 28 army, struggling at 150 population. There is just no tools right now for Capoch to stop all those hand cannoneers, and the bombards are gonna be able to take down those key buildings really fast. The real difference maker here for Capoch is, or excuse me, for MarineLord, is the bombards. Because the traps took a long time to destroy this keep, the bombards have a lot more firepower, so they can just take it down so easily. And now, as I said, we're looking at a lot of hand cannoneers, and the horseman will be a perfect meat shield over here. Capoch taps out, and MarineLord takes the win. What a game this was! Very fun little game here. Very back and forth. If we would have to evaluate where this went wrong for Mr. Capoch, I believe the key thing was that his castle age pushes failed. Those ram pushes were destined for a lot more, but they just never really materialized. The other thing was that there were a lot of raids from MarineLord using those lancers, and Capoch lost a lot of economy there. With that eco not being lost, Capoch would have had a pretty considerable eco lead, I believe. In general, I feel like MarineLord was using his mobility so well, and by the time Capoch switched into men-at-arms, it was too late because his opponent was able to go for the hand cannoneers. If Capoch switches to men-at-arms a little earlier, this could have been a slightly different game. The other thing to note is that Capoch always had reinforcements issues, so he had to send all his infantry or archers all the way from the back of his base to MarineLord's side, whereas MarineLord was mostly defending, so he had a much easier time reinforcing his armies. In fact, he was defending for the majority of the game, and he did so in a very nice fashion. MarineLord takes the game,